Hi, it's Christy from What If It's Amazing, and today we're going to talk about low budget travel. So my family and I have been traveling on $1,200 a month for the last 7 years, for the last 7 years, and a lot of people have asked me how we do this. One of the main things we do is we slow travel, so we spend anywhere from a month to 6 months, sometimes even a year in one place before we move on. And by doing that, we're able to find rentals at a cheaper rate. We're able to rent from locals. We're able to source out the cheaper places to shop and all of that kind of thing. Some of the things that we've done as well to save money is we've done workaway, we've done house sits, we've done couch surfing, but usually we only do those for a short amount of time. So like we'll do workaway for a couple of weeks, we'll do a house sit for a couple of weeks, we'll do couch surfing for a night or two. So, and those are kind of like things that we do before we get settled. So we'll go to a place and we'll do like a workaway or a house sit or couch surfing for a couple of weeks, and then during that time we're able to find like a house to rent and things like that. So one of the things that I really recommend before you go anywhere is it's called Numbeo, Numbeo.com, and you can do a cost comparison of where you are now, or your hometown or country or wherever, to where you want to go. And so one of the things that I do is I look for countries that are at least 35 to 40% cheaper than where we live in Canada, because that means that we can live for that much cheaper. If it's more than that, then I'm even more eager to go there. Sometimes we camp. When we lived in our school bus, we did boondockerswelcome.com, which is like couch surfing for RVers. And so basically people who live just outside of the town or city or have a lot of space, they have a profile on there, and they will allow you to come and park on their property. So we also, when we are places, we eat like a local. So like as much as it's nice to have, Heinz ketchup and Nutella and whatever else you're used to from home, Marmite if you're from England or wherever, as much as it's nice to have all those things, they're not necessary, and they do add cost because they're imported, and things that are imported cost more. So we spent a year in the Dominican Republic. We actually spent more than that, but at a time we spent a year, and we would eat rice and beans and chicken because that's what the locals eat and that's what's cheap. I'm not saying that we never had McDonald's, we never had Heinz ketchup, we never had Kraft Dinner. We did. It was just a treat, and it wasn't something that we bought all the time. We prefer living in small villages as opposed to like big cities, because the small villages tend to be a little bit more cheaper. They don't have all the amenities that the city does, but usually we can find a small village like within commuting distance to the city, and so we'll stay in the little village, and then we'll commute to the city to get groceries or whatever we need, and that really works well for us. It also allows us to get to know the locals better, because in the small villages everybody knows everybody, and it's easier for us to get to know everybody and for my kids to make friends, and I find that once you're there for a while, then the locals kind of look out for you. And so, like, for example, we were living in this little village, and I had been buying stuff off this fruit truck, And the neighbor lady came to the fruit truck when I was there, and she's like, "Why are you charging her so much? That's not how much it costs." So it actually was to my benefit that we lived in the small village and that the neighbor was looking out for me, because otherwise I would have been paying more than I should have been. We take public transit everywhere we go. We don't have a car. I think we've rented a car maybe 5 times in the last 6 years. We don't have a car. We don't have a need for one. Everywhere we go, we can take public transit. We can take the train. We can take whatever we need. Or usually we can find a neighbor who has a car if we need to go somewhere. I love to Google free things to do in whatever town or village or city we are in. And then we go and do those things. So we don't spend a lot on things to do. And my kids really like beaches and parks anyway, so that's pretty cheap. And we find cheap ways of doing things while we're there. So like last summer we spent a lot of time at the spray parks and the pools and stuff. And my kids wanted water guns. Well, water guns are kind of expensive, and they don't have the hand strength to do the trigger anyway, or to pump it. And so sorry, there's a car there. So I was trying to find a way that they could still shoot water and not, and me not have to spend a whole bunch of money, and them being frustrated that they couldn't work this gun. So I figured out that we could, I remembered what they had used when we were in the Dominican, and that was a pop bottle with a nail poked a hole in the center of the top, and then you fill it with water and they can just squeeze the bottle and the water comes shooting out the hole. And they were happy with that, and that was free. So we did that. And then we really avoid touristy areas. That's my biggest thing for saving money when we travel. So if we do have to go to a touristy area, like we're landing in Mexico City next month, we're only spending 3 days there, and then we're moving on to a smaller village. And then while we're there, we'll probably not do as many touristy things as what normal tourists do. And then, but so once we get to the small village just outside and we get to know people, then we find out cheaper ways to do things. And an example of this is, so when we were living in the Dominican, we lived in this little village, and the little village was really close to this one tourist attraction called 27 Waterfalls. And if you book that waterfall or that tour on the beach, it's $90 per person, US dollars per person, and there's 5 of us, or 4. And so I asked around in the village, and one of the guys who drives motorcycle taxi, he said to me, "Oh, if you pay for it at the door, it's only 500 pesos. I'm like, "Oh." And he's like, "I can take you for 100. Oh, so for 100 pesos, so 200 there and back, plus 500 pesos is 700. So maybe $15 as opposed to 90, So we did that, saved me a ton of money. And just things like that. So because we slow travel, we're able to find out cheaper ways to do the attractions. Doesn't mean we don't ever do the attractions. It just means that we wait until we can find a cheaper way to do the attractions. So there's one attraction, it's called Country World, I think, and there's like horseback riding and zip lining and things like that, and I had wanted to do that, but it's $75 US per person. And then I found out that a friend of a friend worked there, and so he could get us in as long as we came after a certain time, or on a certain day when it was slow, kind of thing. So he took us, So it worked out really well. and that's kind of how we manage our budget. And so for my budget, like I don't ever pay more than $300 a month for rent, and that's the top that I will pay for a month. So like Airbnb is out for us. Like Airbnb is out of the budget. We can't stay in Airbnb. And so we, like when we get there, we'll stay at like a cheap hostel for $15 a night kind of thing. And then I walk around and find a place locally to rent. And then we'll just, we eat like locals. So that's kind of how we do ultra low budget travel. I'll do another video about this again, with our actual budget, like once we're in Mexico, because right now we're in Canada and our budget's a little bit different. We're still on $1,200 a month, but our budget's very different than it will be in Mexico. So I'll do a video next month while we're in Mexico of like our exact rundown of how much we spent and all of that kind of stuff. But yeah, this is low budget travel. How to travel on $1,200 or less for a month for you and your kids. See you next time. Oh, and if you like our channel and you want to learn more about ultra low budget travel and family travel, go ahead and subscribe. See you next time.